Howdy folks, LK back on the tube here with another video, and today, this is actually my first video for a game on the Nintendo Switch. This is Ultra Street Fighter 2, which is a full-scale remaster, remake, whatever you want to call it, of the classic Super Street Fighter 2. I just recently found out about this game. Apparently it's been out for a couple of years, and as soon as I saw it, I knew I had to check it out. And what's funny is, I really just got a Switch here recently just because I wanted to hack it and drop RetroArch on it so I could play old school games when I'm having trouble sleeping. And I've been playing this more than anything else. So we got Evil Ryu, Violent Ken, there's Akuma, but I'm going to go old school. I'm going to stick with my man Bison. And let's do a little run through here and give you guys a preview. Again, I'm kind of late to the party. A lot of people probably already know about this game, but in case you don't, here's a good look at it. Let me apologize right up front. You're going to see a lot of psycho crushing going on. Matter of fact, you might even call me a psycho spammer. I guess you could say I developed this style years ago back in the arcades, back when M. Bison first became a playable character. And he has been my man for many, many years. I used to use Chun-li back in the original Street Fighter 2, but that was before I discovered the power of Shadow Law. But the first thing to notice and point out, the smooth graphics here. I mean, this game has just been completely rehauled. It looks very smooth. I'm a big fan of the way that they made the transition here to the Switch, and I've been having a ton of fun with this game. Yeah. DJ has a very interesting fighting style. He's one of the more versatile characters, and he's actually a guy I like to use from time to time, but yeah, it's all about that Bison. And the game has these super combos, obviously, those of you who remember. And they can be a little tricky to pull off sometimes, depending on who you're using, but it's pretty cut and dry with Bison. Basically just do the hold back for 2 seconds, execute what I used to call the rolling kick. Apparently in this game it's called Double Knee. Not exactly the way I envisioned M. Bison sounding. Not that he ever had much of a voice in the games, but I did like the guy who voiced him in the US dub of Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, which was really good. If you haven't seen it, I strongly urge you to check it out if you're a fan of the games. Honda. Been a long time, my friend. This guy had the title of Yokozuna. Anybody old enough to remember him? The wrestler, I mean. Circa 1993, WWF. Badass he was. I gotta tell you, I'm blown away by how awesome this looks and how well it plays. Controls are really tight. Everything is smooth. It's easy to get the moves off. Even playing with the Joy-Cons, which I'm using the Switch Pro controller at the moment, but playing it with the Joy-Cons, it's not bad. I mean, the moves are not any harder to get off than they were back in the day, for the most part. So it's cool. This game is exclusive to the Nintendo Switch. As far as I know, there's not another port available for this on like PS4 or Xbox. So one of the reasons why I had never heard of it, I didn't have a Switch until recently, so it was definitely a pleasant surprise, and I've just been having a ball with this. Yeah, that'll teach him. Ah, look at that. Cost me my perfect boy. There we go. And of course, as with the case back in the day, if you make it all the way to the end without losing a round, you get to battle Akuma, which is like kind of a hybrid of Ken and Ryu. Some people say he's Shanglong, just kind of redone in some kind of cool comic book style. But whoever he is, we are going to try to get to him and slap him around a little bit. But got to take care of business first. Can't lose a round. Can't let Ken open up on you. He can hurt you. There we go. Shut it down now. I swear that's been permanently ingrained in my vernacular since that crazy interview Jim Carrey did a couple years ago, which was easily one of the most entertaining things I'd ever seen out of him. Wonder how he's getting on these days. As you can see, Ken is still quite the Shoryuken spammer. He loves the Dragon Punch, much like Ryu with the Hadouken Fireball. So there's lots of that going on. Alright, Miss Cammy, how you been? And the game also has new voice acting, as a lot of you will probably recognize. I'm not hearing Cammy's signature, Kanen drill. And for the most part, I like the new voice acting, but some of it's kind of corny, especially Guile.
Sonic Boom!
His Sonic Boom.
Sonic Boom!
The way he says it, not a fan of that.
Sonic Boom!
A couple of the other little things that I hear here and there, but for the most part, it's really well done. And another cool feature about this game, I missed it. Ooh, there we go. Another cool thing about the game is if you prefer the old style, and I'll give you a look at that later, you can actually set the graphics back to the old 32-bit pixely look, and even go with the old sound, the old soundtrack with the original voiceovers. So that's really cool. Nice nostalgic throwback. But for the most part, I enjoy playing the remastered version here. I really like the way it looks. Of course. God, that was one of the hardest moves to pull off on this game. That spinning pile driver. There we go. Yeah, I noticed with Zangief, they've... I don't know if it's a new move or not. I don't remember him doing that spinning backhand deal that he does. Maybe he did, but I don't remember it. I guess I didn't use him a whole lot back then. But I noticed it's got some God frames about it. Can't really break through it when he's in the middle of his rotation. But we got him here. Boy, Bison's talking some new trash in this version, I think. I don't remember some of this dialogue. I don't know if these are new for the remake or if this was stuff that he said in the Super Street Fighter II Turbo port, or not the port, the original arcade. The version I'm most familiar with is the Super Nintendo port of Super Street Fighter II, not Super Street Fighter II Turbo. So, too many Street Fighters. But can't blame them. I mean, you talk about a multi-million-dollar franchise, maybe billion-dollar franchise. Haven't taken the time to research it, but Capcom definitely knew what they were doing. This game had something like, I don't know, probably 8, 9 different revisions, and that's just off the top of my head. There may be others in between that I'm not accounting for, but it definitely stood the test of time. Ooh, got him. There's one of the deals here about getting this Psycho Crusher trick to work. It's like you have a small window when they're in the process of getting up. You catch them just at the right time. That's when you can kind of get them going and try to get yourself an easy perfect. But if you mistime the move, they'll block it or they'll counter with something that completely breaks it. So there's definitely something about the timing and getting it off right, but might as well concentrate a little bit here. Double knee. I don't know why I find that so funny. Alright. Too focused on getting perfects here. I gotta make sure not to lose a round. So you guys can see the mighty Akuma. There we go. Got you now, boy. My personal favorite version of Street Fighter II was Champion Edition, as it finally allowed you to play as the 4 boss characters, and man, I remember those days. It's back when Ghoulie was just simply known as Mr. Gatti's Pizza, and we had one here in town that my family used to go to quite a bit, and I remember they got the arcade game there. Man, I played it all the time. I got pretty good with Bison, and sometime later the skating rink that a few of us used to hang out at, they ended up getting it, and I'd have a line of people waiting to play against me up there. The funny thing was, all I ever wanted to do was just play through the game and see the ending, but people wouldn't stop jumping in. They'd get so pissed, because every time they'd get a lick in, I'd just psycho crush them. Man, those were the days. And speaking of playing as the bosses, not really sure when I'll get another chance to talk about this, there was a big rumor making the rounds back in 93, 94 about being able to play as those boss characters in that original Super Nintendo port of the World Warrior. And I had a friend, it was a schoolmate, who swore up and down that he saw somebody, a cousin or friend or something, playing as Bison on a glitchy looking screen on the World Warrior for the Super Nintendo, but of course had no idea how they did it. And I thought for years he was lying, because I never saw anything come out about it. I had Nintendo Power magazine by then, where a lot of different secrets about the game came out, cheats, glitches, hidden options and whatnot, but there was never a boss code, and still that rumor persisted for quite some time. And I remember Nintendo Power, they did finally acknowledge it. I believe it was the Street Fighter II Turbo issue, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember reading it. They sort of kind of hinted at the situation. They wouldn't confirm it because, of course, they were pitching the new Street Fighter II Turbo port. But this thing definitely got around, that World Warrior rumor. A lot of kids were talking about it, but nobody really knew how to do it or if it was even true. Well, turns out I was reading the wrong magazine. It was EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly, who revealed that there were 2 Game Genie codes that you could use together that allowed player 2 to play as any of the 4 boss characters. And just like my old middle school buddy said, it would cause the game to glitch. So Matt, wherever you are, sorry I called you a liar 25 years ago. Turns out you were right. This is me playing as Bison on the World Warrior with the second controller. And what's more interesting is Game Genie was made by Ghoulie, which was never licensed by Nintendo. In fact, Nintendo always hated it, and they openly discouraged people from using it, claiming it could damage your games or whatever. But this perfectly explains why they never directly referenced that Game Genie method for the boss code. Oh, we got a run-in. Akuma's here, and he doesn't look happy, folks. Looks like he's itching for a fight, so let's do it. Can the master of the fist outduel the master of the Psycho Crusher? And while you process that corny line, you can't let this guy get on a roll with you. He'll bust you up in a heartbeat. Find it's best to keep a little bit of distance, not too much, because it doesn't take him no time at all to go to the fireballs over and over again. I try to stay relatively close to him, try to avoid this. Stay patient, close the distance, and try not to get your ass beat. There we go. See if I can get him. Yeah. Kick ass. Oh, check it out.
Beat my high score.
Nice. if I remember right. I think it was Street Fighter 2 Turbo. If you beat the game as actually, if you beat the game as any of the 4 boss characters, you know, it gives you this kind of Armageddon style ending and talking about how the world is now going to be ruled by evil. It says, "Have a nice day." Alright, here we are on the options screen, and we are going to switch things back to the classic style. Taking it back to the old 32-bit, or 16, however you want to look at it. Alright. Let's see. I think I'm going to go with Sagat this time. Haha, check him out. Looking all pixely old school. See if I can break out of my Bison mode here. Where's that tiger uppercut? Oh, there it is. Man, that punch will mess you up. Come on now. There it is. It's tricky to get off sometimes. Yeah, I remember now. That old Sagat laugh. That always cracked me up back in the day. Yeah. Pound him into oblivion. Oh, come on now. Alright. It's been a long time. We gotta shake the rust here. It's you and me, Sagat. There it is. And say you don't wanna... Well, he thinks everything's funny, doesn't he? You don't want to wind up with another one of those big scars across your back. Alright. Couldn't give us Ryu or Ryu, but we'll take Ken, the next best thing. Jeez, man, look at him. Looks like a little glass of lemonade over there. Gotta respect him, though. He'll open up on you with some of that. Uh-oh. You don't have an answer for that. Gotcha. Nice. There's that old giggle. Yeah, that's right. It's always funny if, when you beat him at the end of round 1, if he gives you that proper, like, and then the second victory, he just lets it loose. That stuff used to crack me up all the time. There we go. A little personal story about Guile here. When I first started playing this game, I was about 12 years old, and I had never encountered the word Guile before. I had no idea what it meant, and I didn't even know how to say it right, so I called him Ghoulie. And I remember being at school one day, and there were some kids talking about Street Fighter, and I heard somebody say the word Guile. And, you know, they were like, yeah, you know, when you're fighting Guile, and he kicks you every time you jump near him. And I asked, who y'all talking about? And they were like, Guile? You know, the guy in the army pants, Sonic Boom. Oh, yeah, okay, Guile, right. You know, I thought I heard you call him something else. Okay, yeah. Huh? So, Ghoulie appropriately became Guile at that moment. As you guys ponder, if you haven't played this game, if you're pondering picking it up for the Switch, I do recommend it. Not only do you have this sweet, smooth remaster, totally modernized version of this classic game, you have the old school presentation as well, and that packed together in one, should we say cartridge, or are these games like technically SD cards? Well, you can download it too from the eStore. However you go about picking it up, I highly recommend checking it out. There we go. It's probably be an unpopular statement, especially considering the modern age or whatever, but Mortal Kombat 11 just came out here recently, and I did play it. And be quite honest with you, I'd rather play this. I have more fun out of a 25-year-old Street Fighter 2 game than I do the current rendition of Mortal Kombat. Never thought I'd say that in 2019, but here I am spending more time on the Nintendo Switch than I am my PS4, which I know MK11's available on the Switch, but I don't feel like buying it twice. Balrog's kind of dressed like Little Mac here a little bit, isn't he? Sporting those green gloves. Ah, beautiful. Nice. That was Muay Thai. Caught him coming in with that knee right in the gristle. And speaking of Sagat, he's actually the only one of the 4 boss characters to have his name intact from the original Japanese version of the game. The other 3 bosses' names were rotated because of the name M. Bison, which was originally the name of the guy we know in North America as Balrog. For those old enough to remember playing the World Warrior, did you ever think to yourself, boy, this guy sure looks familiar? Well, you're not alone, and it definitely wasn't a coincidence. In the original Japanese version, Balrog was M. Bison, with M presumably meaning Mike. When Street Fighter II was localized for the overseas market, Capcom wisely made some changes in fear of getting sued by Mike Tyson. So M. Bison became Balrog, Balrog became Vega, and Vega became M. Bison. Confused yet? All in all, this is a fantastic remake of a true heavyweight classic. Street Fighter II is one of the main pioneers of the tournament fighting genre, if not the pioneer. And whether you're an old school gamer like myself who's old enough to remember playing the game in its heyday, or you're a newer fan who got into the series a little bit later, or you're brand spanking new to the franchise, this is a great game to play on the Nintendo Switch. Hope you guys and gals enjoyed the video. Till next time, happy gaming, and we'll see you again. Take it easy.